we've got Manel Yakub, Hyperborean warrior Milky Zael Costa, who is fighting on behalf of Odin as one of his personal Einherjar, descended from Asgard itself, and Ozempic Caseoh Asplund, all in the same card, to end off the ESPN era, to end off 2025. It's been a year. Not the best year, but it's been a year nonetheless. And we have to talk about that. Like, our picks, we have some decent picks, you know. Nzechukwu was a draw. Gibson was my worst pick of my entire channel's history so far. I thought Bobby Green was washed, and I thought a young brother like Lance Gibson Jr. was going to get it done, but horrible performance from Lance, man. That sucks. And who cares about Belita and who cares about Fly? I knew nothing about Gilhair and Pat. So, we got to talk about this shit, man. The main event. Royval versus Kape. I told you guys, Manel Kape is good. He is the fastest flyweight, and he has power. Here's the thing, man. Royval isn't known as the guy to being very chinny, but if you look at Royval, if you look at his body type, he just looks chinny, and Manel Kape doesn't, and it's not a racial thing, because Hispanics usually aren't chinny. Mexicans usually have great chins, right? Like Kelvin Gastelum, great chin. Henry Cejudo, great chin. A lot of these Mexicans, but those Mexicans are stocky. They're fat. They're chunky, you know. If we go into boxing, Andy Ruiz, great chin. Pitbull Cruz, great chin. Royval isn't stocky. He's skinny. He's slim. He's like a little stick bug. And Manel Kape, you look at his body type, you look at his build, his biceps. I know he's like 5'5", he's 5'6" or whatever, but he's built for his height. And I knew something like that was going to happen. I didn't expect it round one, though. That's crazy. It was a big, powerful right hook. Dropped Brandon Royval. I thought it was an early stoppage, but I could see why the referee stopped the fight, because in the second follow-up shot, the ground and pound shot, you could see Royval, his eyes were going in the back of his head. And when a referee sees that, it's pretty much over. Even if the referee didn't stop at that moment, I think more brutal ground and pound shots from Manel Kape was going to knock out Brandon Royval out cold. So it is what it is. We don't like early stoppage stuff, but it's better for the fighters that they don't take as much damage. Manel Kape calls out Joshua Van. I don't know who they're going to give it to. Are they going to give it to Taylor? Are they going to give it to Kape? I think it's kind of already cemented that they're going to give it to Taylor, but that call out, that was a personal call out. I think if they do Kape, it sells more fights than Taylor, in my personal opinion. Taylor, I don't think he sells all that well in America. I like Taylor. I'm a fan of his. But for the casuals, I think more people would like Kape. And calling him out in Houston, that was what made it personal. And I think Joshua Van would probably want to fight Kape more than he would want to fight Taylor, because Taylor is a backpack merchant, and he probably has a chance to knock out Kape rather than Tetsuro Taylor. But we'll see what the UFC does. And he called him out for February. Van wants to fight in February. He took no damage in the Pantoja fight. So that's that. Co-main event. Look, come on. We all knew something like this was going to happen. Everybody was knowing that Kevin Vallejos was going to win. I don't think I saw anybody pick Giga Chikadze. Smashes his shin. And that was the unfortunate thing, is that Kevin Vallejos was the one that did the leg kick, and Giga checked his kick, and he was the one that got injured from it. So he did the right thing, and he still gets punished. That's sad, but it is what it is. And then he proceeded to kick Kevin Vallejos to the body with his split open leg, and then gets caught with the big giant spinning back fist in round two. And go rewatch that knockout. Right before it happened, Giga was like goading him to come here, like, you know, is that all you got? Because he got hit by a big shot right before that. He wasn't focused, then gets pounded with brutal elbows to the ground, stops the fight, it's over. Kevin Vallejos is legit. I don't want to say that he's like the next Ilya Topuria for featherweight, but those 5'7" guys with those stocky builds, that's like the perfect build for that weight division. those long guys like Giga, guys like Sean Woodson, it might seem imposing at first. And Sean Woodson, he will beat a lot of featherweights. But when you're up against a guy like Kevin Vallejos that has power and who's confident with their punches, dude, it's scary, man. Because they're like little mini Azamat Mirzakhanovs. Fully densed. Bone structure is maximum to the limit. Titanium bones, and they're just like little brick walls. And if they punch you, you feel it. If they hit you to the body, to the liver, you're going to feel it. You're going to crumble down. And when you're sacrificing a lot of that muscle mass as a taller fighter in these lower weight divisions, I don't think you really last that long. And I know Ilya Topuria versus Jai Herbert was at lightweight, but it was a similar situation. The short, stockier fighter destroying the tall, lankier fighter that doesn't have any muscle mass. And that's why I picked Kevin Vallejos, because I figured it's going to be a situation like that. So great win. He's going to be a ranked fighter. And I do eventually want to see him get revenge against Gene Silva, because that was a great fight in the Contender Series. And I think it'll be a great fight. And do that as a main event. So we get 5 rounds of it. But called out Cub Swanson. L call out. Don't call out Cub Swanson. He's like, what, 44 years old? Come on. You just got in the top 15, and you're calling out Cub? Shame, man. That was the only thing I didn't like about it. Do not call out Cub Swanson. Cesar Almeida versus Cesario Oleksiecjuk. I picked Cesario Oleksiecjuk by round 1 knockout. Very sloppy, disappointing fight. I don't really want to talk about it. If Cesario Oleksiecjuk wants to be like the next Movsar Evloev, he can go ahead. There's a lot of killers at middleweight that are going to pose problems to this guy. And if he wants to get a title shot, he's probably going to have to fight like the next 8 or 9 guys in a similar fashion. He needs knockouts. He needs to find out more finishing potential. He was on top position in all 3 rounds, and he was doing these little shoulder strikes, bro. Like, you're not Conor McGregor, man. Conor McGregor did those shoulder strikes when he was standing up against Donald Cerrone. That does no damage to a guy on bottom. It was so embarrassing. I hated watching this fight. And Almeida, you're Brazilian. You can't defend a takedown worth of shit. Shame. Cut both. Don't cut Cesario Oleksiecjuk. But, you know, Almeida, don't cut him either. I'm being hyperbolic, okay? Almeida did give us a beautiful knockout against Al Hassan. So, book him up against somebody else, somebody more exciting. As for Oleksiecjuk, I don't care. Don't care about him. His other brother's more entertaining, because at least he gets knockouts against Dumas and GM3. So, don't know what they're going to do with him. But, oh my god. Milkazel Costa versus Morgan Charrier. I predicted a round 2 submission. Head kick KO in the first round. Uncle Ruckus is jealous of Milkazel Costa. Shout out to Jimmy for making me laugh my ass off on stream because of that. Shout out to you, my man. Uncle Ruckus is completely jealous of our Hyperborean warrior blessed by the gods of Asgard. Head kick KO Morgan Charrier. I didn't expect the fight to go like this. I expected Morgan to, Morgan, he's a rock'em and sock'em type of fighter, like we saw against Nate Landwehr. I thought Costa was going to take Morgan down and maybe find a submission in like the second or third, but just head kicks him. And that head kick, it wasn't even the shin that landed. It was like his toes. It was the end of the foot, of Costa's foot, and just knocks out Morgan Charrier. It wasn't a knockout cold type of knockout. Like you can see it rocked Morgan and his eyes were up, but he got back up quite fast. But still, Costa was going to finish him with brutal ground and pound if the ref didn't step in. So it was kind of like a semi-knocked out cold type of knockout. It was one of those nasty ones where the fighter, he's out of it, but he's still kind of in it. Kind of like Edson Barbosa versus Shane Burgos, where it's like a delayed reaction. It's like his brain just shut off for like 2 seconds and he didn't know where he was at, but he got back up. So we'll see what happens to Charrier. He's got like now 11 losses or 12 losses. he's good, but he's not elite. So, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Marcus Buchecha ends in a draw. I'm glad that Herb Dean took a point off from Kennedy. There's no excuse to have your fingers extended that far out. And honestly, cut Buchecha. He could have got the finish in the second with the elbows, but he's looking at his corner like he doesn't know what to do. This is MMA. This isn't BJJ. You finish off your opponent. Show no mercy. You could have easily finished him off, but he didn't. He's not going to last that long. He loses to so many guys at heavyweight. I don't want to see him. They cut Martin Buday for this. Martin Buday was on a 6-fight win streak. Has won every single fight in his UFC career except for Shamil the Dagestani diabetic himself. And they cut him for it. They punished Martin Buday for beating Marcus Buchecha. They should have cut Marcus Buchecha instead. And now we have to suffer because he's probably going to get 2 more fights in the UFC before they eventually do cut him. As for Kennedy, Kennedy sucks too. What can I say? Kennedy's not going to make it that far either. You know, we were thinking that, oh, you know, an exciting guy, lighter man skill coming up from 205. He's going to make it far at heavyweight. Nope. Horrible anti-grappling defense, horrible takedown defense. He's not going to make it that far. Oh, God. King Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. My worst pick in my entire UFC channel history. I picked Lance Gibson because Bobby Green is about to be 39 years old. And I thought the younger brother was going to do it. I thought he was going to knock out the old Unk. And I didn't know much about Lance Gibson. I saw it was catch weight. You know, I was thinking like, okay, Green just had a brutal knockout against Mauricio Huffy. Maybe this guy, he's like 30 years old. He can catch Bobby Green. Bobby Green literally dog walking him with his shoulders like this. With his hands all the way down, doing the billionaire strut like Vince McMahon's walk. He doesn't give a fuck, and Lance doesn't throw shit. He had some decent takedowns, and I thought it was a unanimous decision. I don't get the split decision. That one judge that gave it to Lance, I don't know what the fuck that was about. But embarrassing performance from Lance Gibson Jr. He's not going to make it that far. I don't know if they signed him or if he's got a UFC contract or if they just pulled him out like an Ethan Ewing situation. But don't want to see him ever again. Horrible performance. Brito versus Isaac Thompson. I was impressed with Isaac Thompson. I think Isaac Thompson was good, and I think if Isaac Thompson had a full fight camp and he was more prepared for this fight, and he didn't take it on short notice, he could have easily beaten a guy like Joanderson Brito. Good scrambles, good survivability. It's a shame, man. But Brito, I think this was the fight where, yeah, Brito was just like slamming Thompson down. Yeah, he slammed Thompson down on his head and he just gets back up like it's nothing. These Aussies, there's something else. But Brito sucks too. Okay, so he's not going to make it far. Like Brito, it was supposed to be Melsik Bagdasaryan. And Melsik Bagdasaryan was the guy that got brutally elbowed and destroyed by Gene Silva. I think Brito probably would have beaten Bagdasaryan, but oh well. Isaac Thompson comes in. Hopefully they paid Thompson good. Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov. Before I made my prediction video, there was a part of me that wanted to pick Neil Magny. I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I did my research on this Amosov guy. Beats Roberto Soldic. And I think it was a split decision, but still, Roberto Soldic is decent. Roberto Soldic could be a ranked welterweight. He is good. Okay, he knocked out DDP. But he also got knocked out by DDP. But DDP's good too. Amosov, first round anaconda choke. The gatekeeper has been stumped by the Ukrainian Giga Chad. Or he's not a Giga Chad, but depending on who you ask. That was that. I don't know why it looks like this, but Stephen Asplund, Ozempic Caseoh. I love heavyweight fights like that. Stephen Asplund destroys Sean Sharaf. I have to rewatch that fight because it's amazing. I am now a fan of Stephen Asplund, but his chin is in the air. He doesn't have head movement at all. He is going to get knocked out, unfortunately. A lot of people knock him out. Do him up against a guy like Mick Parkin. I think that'll be a nice scrap. Mick Parkin is also a tubby schlub. And I liked Asplund's post-fight speech. I like humble guys. You know, he said that he's disgusting, or like his body was disgusting. It's like, oh, you know, don't say that. I can say that your body's disgusting, but because he said it about himself, then I don't want to be an asshole and talk about his body anymore, you know? So, great win from Steven Asplund. Welcome to the UFC. Croden versus Santos. And, you know, these fights, I don't want to really talk about them. Gilhair and Pat. Let's just talk about Santos. Santos is hot, okay? And wins over Melissa Croden. I didn't even pay attention to his bantamweight. Croden's tall. Santos is hot. She's sexy. I love Brazilian women, except if they're looking like Amanda Lemos. But if they look like Luana Santos, that's good. Alan Fry Jr. versus Gilhair and Pat. This is a Dana White Contender Series fight. Knew nothing about these guys. I went for Alan Fry based on ethnicity because Gilhair looks like an Indian variant Brazilian. And I'm looking at these other Indian variants, like Brenson Ribeiro, like Kevin Christian, like Rafael Cerqueira. They're very chinny, and I was thinking to myself, well, I don't know much about Alan Fry, but maybe he can knock out Gilhair and Pat. Nope. Sloppy performance from both guys. Again, Gilhair and Pat, he probably is going to get knocked down his next fight, depending on who it is. It's just that Alan Fry absolutely sucks. And so that's that. And Jamie Lynn Horde versus Teresa Bleda. You gotta pick the uglier woman. Note to self, that's something I forgot in recent memory. I used to pick the ugly woman. I should have picked Jamie Lynn Horde because she does look like a ghoul. She looks like a crypt keeper. She looks like she works as a mortician part-time, and she molests the bodies. That is the type of woman that Jamie Lynn Horde is. Jamie Lynn Horde, if you're watching this video, please don't sue me. I'm a big fan of your work. You gotta finish. Congratulations. And that's that for 2025. UFC Fight Night, Royval versus Kape. It was a decent card. It was an alright card. We had some great finishes. You know? But we got 6 weeks for UFC 324. A 6-week content drought, 6-week layoff. I'm already starting to develop some withdrawals. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably make a lot of like cringy bullshit videos because I have to upload. I like uploading. That's that. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I have to upload this video, my post-fight reaction review. If you made it this far, comment the number 15 so I know you made it this far. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, motherfuckers. We're so close to hitting 500 subs. That's a big milestone. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, my friends.